Welcome to another episode of This Old Hooptie, where I take this piece of crap and make it into something a little more pretty, I hope. In today's video, we're going to do a comparison. We're going to take the $50 Life Fauve, or however you pronounce that, hair dryer sprayer. We're going to shoot some primer, some white enamel base, which is Rustoleum, of course, and then we're going to clear it. We'll see how it goes on this panel over here. Then we'll take the other panel over there, and we're going to shoot that with Rustoleum gloss. That's the 5-in-1 cap with the 4-inch pattern. So the goal today is to see what comes out better, the Life Fauve $50 sprayer with primer, Rustoleum white and clear, or the Rustoleum 5-in-1 can gloss on the other side. I'd like to know. I mean, if you can shoot a whole truck with this, it's kind of cool, it's cheap, and let's get into it. I'm gonna go over this part really quick just to include it in the video. Using 220 wet sanding on a little rubber block here. It's flexible, and I'm using a spray bottle. Just kind of mist off the panel, and then get anything I can to where I can't feel it anymore. So if there's like a little indent like this, kind of just go at it until I can't feel it anymore. We do that for the whole panel. And then since there's already water in the bottle, I just spray over the entire thing and kind of soak the floor. Since the floor has to be wet anyway, so the paint doesn't stick, it's kind of like a 2-in-1. So this side I haven't sanded. Here's a real quick example. Keep everything as wet as possible. Also wet the paper. All I'm really gonna do is just kind of feather this out. The center part is the low spot, and I'm just gonna kind of burn the paint around the edges till I can't feel it anymore. So when the paper gets something on it, I just clean it off. And also clean off this. That way I can keep getting the sandpaper to bite. And then clean it off. Clean off my paper. And keep going. Now, obviously, you can't feel it, but you can see it. You can see that I've kind of feathered everything back, and now I can no longer feel those little indents with my finger. So I'm gonna do the rest of this panel really quick. I'm gonna put you guys on the time lapse, and I will click you back on when we're ready to prime and paint. All right, panel's been sanded down. I'll give you a quick look. You can see I took anywhere where there was like pitting or damage in the clear coat of the paint and just kind of feathered it all out. Now let's give it a quick wipe down with the glass cleaner. Then we're ready to prime and paint. For those of you wondering, this is going to need a white base anyways, so as long as they come out pretty much the same or as close as possible, or whichever one's better I'll end up going with, let's put it that way. But the white is going to be the base for the orange mica pearl that I'm going to shoot over this later once I have the entire thing done. But so far, I only have the front of this thing sanded, so that's what we're going to do our experiment on. Let's tape off whatever we don't want our test on. I like both this and the tape where you just put the paper to it, but this makes things go a lot faster, as you can see, because all I got to do is run the tape along here, stretch out the plastic, and tape it to something else, and then I've got all my stuff pretty much covered. So To each his own. I'll leave all this stuff in a link in the description down below or off to the side, so if you need any of the stuff that I'm using in this video, that's where you go and get it. Now this stuff has like a static cling to it, so you may not even need to tape it. Your mileage may vary. I'm going to tape it just in case, because once I start spraying stuff or if the wind kicks up, this will blow over. My plan is just to throw a tarp over this and in here so I don't get any paint anywhere I don't want it. Whenever you're using this kind of stuff, there's not a ton of overspray anyways unless it's windy, and I picked a day where there is no wind, so we shouldn't have any of those problems. First step is to get primer over anything where there is exposed metal. All right, that's gonna do it for the primer. Anywhere where there was the silver of the metal showing through, I've gone and coated everything with the primer. Let's let this sit for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll get started with the coats of white. All right, so depending upon where you are, it's gonna depend upon your drive times. On the can, it's 15 to 30 minutes dry time. Obviously, the higher the humidity, the hotter it is, the faster it's gonna. I'm in Florida, it's ridiculous humidity. It's 100 degrees outside, so it's pretty hot, it's pretty humid. That means this is gonna dry a lot faster. So anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and this is gonna be dry. So the last thing you wanna do is start painting before this primer is dry, or paint another coat of paint before the paint is dry. That's gonna mess up your paint job. Your paint is going to either crinkle, because the underlayer of the paint is not ready for the overlay of the paint, because it's not really dry. So to figure out when you're ready to paint, you do the following. Touch an area away from the panel that you just painted. I intentionally sprayed over here. As you can see, nothing is coming off on my finger, which means we're ready to either add more primer or add more paint. In this case, let's get the Rustoleum 5-in-1 going. We're gonna shake up the can and get the 4-inch pattern to get our first coat of white on here. All right, before I start painting, let me cover up the engine and throw a tarp inside here so I don't get paint on anything that I don't want paint on. All right, so like I said, we're using the Rustoleum 5-in-1 spray cans. I keep these caps when I'm done. I just kind of clean it off with a little alcohol and a rag because I reuse these tops. Let's get this thing sprayed. Now, like I said, you can see I sprayed over there, so that area is going to be the area that I test to see when this is ready for recoat. All right, 10 minutes on the clock. I'll be back with my mask, and we're going to get a much thicker coat on for coat 2 and 3. All right, it's been 8.5 minutes. Let's give the truck an inappropriate touch in an inconspicuous place and see if we're ready to go. Nothing. A little something. Let's give it another minute or two, and then we'll get our next coat of paint on. For this coat, I'm going to use the mask, and I'm going to do it twice as thick as the first one, and then the third coat, same thing. That way we get good coverage. So don't mind the little dots on the camera. Those are actually weld burns in the front of the lens. Wipe this off with a little bit of alcohol. That way it's ready to go for the next time. All right, I'm gonna put the timer for 10 minutes and then I'll be back, do the third and final nice wet coat. We'll let it dry and then go to the other side. All right, third and final coat, let's get it. So it took 1 can to do this panel, 3 coats. All right, that's gonna do it. Gonna wipe off our top, save it for later. We'll keep this, chuck this. Let's bring you in for a look. Not bad at all. Hopefully the light doesn't get in you guys' faces. It's got a good shine to it. If I wasn't gonna be doing the pearls, I'd rock it like that. You know, I really like the white. It's nice. Still doing the pearls over it, but wow, what a difference. That's ugly. That's not. Let's let this dry up and then we'll get started on the other side. The other side's already sanded, so we're gonna start with the primer, work our way forward, same as this side. Be back in a minute. It's time to get started on this side so we can see how this thing does. First things first, I've already taken care of the nice wet sand and cleaned this thing off, so everything is ready to paint. I did shave the antenna, that was done a while ago, and let's get it primered. All right, let's see what we got. So according to this, the applications that it's suitable for, this product is suitable for use with water and solvent-based paints, finishes, primers, 2-component paints, clear finishes, automotive finishes, staining, sealer, wood sealer preservatives. It's also compatible with all coating materials that bear the red Perfect Spray logo, whatever the heck that is. So based on that, this should be like a unicorn hairspray or paint sprayer thing. It should be able to do anything better than anything else. Let's take this thing apart, put it together, and see how it paints. Okay, let's put this thing together. It could not be more simple. You only got a few parts. There's already like a little filter inside here. I would definitely pull it off and check. There's your filter right inside there. It's kind of similar to my Fuji spray, just, you know, $1,150 cheaper. Pop the hose in this end. Take the back part of the handle, pop the hose in this end. I don't know how long that's going to last being all plastic, but, you know, who knows. Check that it works. Yeah, it does. Let's move on to the next part. Make sure this thing is pointing towards the front of the gun, not the back. Because when we tilt it like this, we want it to be able to suck the paint from the front. Hopefully you guys can see that. And then the magic handle has a unlock portion here. Match it up with the unlock portion here. And twist it. It'll snap into place right here. There you go. Then all you got to do is deal with the tip. It's got a nice little holder on the back there. We got 3 tips plus the one that came in the gun. What are these? Let's see here. We got a 1.0, We got a 3.0. We got a 1.5. I'm guessing there's one in this tip right here. Yep, there's one in here. What is this one? And we got a 2.0. So, all right, we're gonna use the 1.5 for the paint, and then we're gonna go down to the 1.0 when we get to the clear. Let's get on it. All right, so swapping out the tips, you just unscrew this front portion, snap this bad boy in place. There's a little recess right here. That's got to go with that little recess right there. Kind of simple as far as that goes. When you pull the trigger, the needle will go back. Yes, it does. Let's cover it up. Now, just like any one of these things, each one of the turns on here will be a different pattern. So this here, sideways, should be the fan pattern that we're looking for. I'm going to leave this part wide open. That way I can get full use of the trigger, because I don't know how much or how little I'm supposed to use. I don't even know if this thing is going to work this way, but we'll see when we get there. Definitely going to have to filter this because I can feel a little chunkage. Yeah, there's some chunkage down at the bottom, but that's all right. All right, we're gonna do 4 to 2 like we usually do. So I'm gonna fill this up. I don't know how much paint this thing shoots. So I'm gonna fill it up to probably like 3. And then I'm going to take the acetone and we're gonna go up to the 4. So that's 4 parts paint, 2 parts acetone. And then we're gonna add some hardener in. Let's do it. Let's get the paint in here. So let's go up to the 3. All right, there we go. Hopefully that doesn't make too much of a mess. No, all right, we're good. Very nice, very nice. Let's cover this up and get it out of our way. Let's get our acetone in there. We're going to take this paint line up to the 4. That's going to be 2 parts. Let me see here. Up to, yeah, 3. And this would be 4 to 1 if I went to the 3. So we're going to go 3 to 4, which will be 4 to 2. Sorry. All right, hopefully this isn't too confusing. We went up to the number 3 for the 4 line. That's going to be 4 parts paint. And then we're going to go up to the number 4. So that's going to be 2 parts acetone. Stir up our magic mix. There we go. This is pretty thin, but I think it'll work. Let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh sorry, not 16 ounces, 8 ounces. Add 1 8-ounce container of magic hardener to 1 gallon of paint. Now we used about 1/4 quart. That's like a couple caps full. That's all we're gonna do in here. We're gonna do a couple caps full of this into here, mix it all together, and then get this thing shot. One and a half. There we go. All right, let's just clean this off before we put it all back together. All right, I'm gonna go wash my hands. We'll mix this up, get this shot. Now, at 50 bucks, if this were to paint the whole car, even if it were to go in the garbage, that's pretty good. But we're gonna try and clean it and see if I can use it more than once. We shall see. All right. We got our strainer in here. Let's strain it. Not bad. Not bad at all. Let's hook it up. All right, let's turn the vacuum on. Yeah, baby. Woo! There we go. Alright. Coat one, pretty damn good coverage. Okay, this thing's a beast. I don't know if it's gonna hold up or not, but this thing covers real nice. So remember, this is flat because we're gonna be using clear over it, so there's not gonna be too much of a sheen. Alright, I'm kind of surprised at the $50 paint gun. It's not as, like, the paint doesn't atomize as much as my Fuji spray, but I don't expect it to. You're talking about the difference between a $1,200 spray gun and a $50 spray gun. But I will tell you, this little hairspray vacuum thing does a good job. Like, you could, if you set up your entire truck and you sprayed the entire thing 2 or 3 coats, you'd be good to go. You can cut this thing down. It's going to come out with much less orange peel than a turbo spray can. It's going to be much less abusive on your thumb, and it's going to probably cost less. It's also going to cost less than using a whole bunch of cans. So you can basically get, I don't know, a gallon of paint, maybe a couple quarters, and you'll be able to paint the entire thing. Because remember, you're going to cut it with acetone. So depending upon how big your vehicle is, it's going to make this thing quite simple and quite affordable. Now, as far as how long this lasts, I'm going to clean it with acetone or paint thinner. So I don't know how well that's going to go, and if it's going to beat these parts up. You're really only cleaning the tip. I'm going to try and keep it off the plastics and use a little Q-tip to clean the tip, as well as the strainer, which has a thick plastic strainer for the bottom of it. The strainer is made of plastic, so I don't know how long that's going to hold up, but I can always use my paper funnel strainers. Not really a big deal. I can stick that in the cup and just go to town with those. So I'm not worried about that. But the gun itself and the tip and the little vacuum thing in here, that's what I'm more worried about. If it'll hold up, this thing is great. For 50 bucks, that's awesome. So that being said, I'm going to come back in a few minutes, spray the second coat. Let's get to it. All right, so I don't know how well these components are going to hold up. This is plastic, not metal, the mesh in here. So I cleaned it with acetone. It's pretty clean. Water goes through it, so it should be able to be working again for at least a second time. I don't know how well the glue is going to hold up around here. Cleaning that with acetone, I guess we'll find out. Not a big deal because I can just use regular paint strainers. All right, coat 2, let's get it. And just like that, like 2 minutes, boom, done. All right, pretty good so far. No runs. The filter is actually filtering a little tiny bit. As you can see, there's some white stuck in there.
All right, let's let that sit for about 12 minutes, and I think we're gonna get, let me see here. That's actually pretty thick. So that's on there pretty thick. I don't think I'm gonna do another coat of this. I'm gonna let this flash off and see where it goes. We'll check back on it in about 15 minutes. If it looks good, if it's flat enough, I'm gonna clear over it. If not, we're gonna sand it down and then we'll clear over it.
As you can see, this, I'll show it to you again when it dries, versus this. So this is gloss from the can, lays nice and flat once it's dry. When this dries up a little bit more, I'll show it to you in about 12 minutes, and then we'll see if it needs to be cut or cleared. Okay, once again, I'm surprised by this thing. Most of the peel flattened out. It's pretty impressive. All right, cleaning it is pretty simple. You just take it apart and clean it out with some acetone, wipe it all down, and then make sure this is ready for the clear. The clear I'm gonna be using is Speedo Coat, right here, SMR 1150. I'm gonna be using the medium activator. I'm gonna do 4 parts of the clear. So I'm gonna go up to the 2 here, and then I'm gonna go up to the next 2 over here for the activator. So it's 4 to 1. Let's get the clear in here. Let's get going. So as you can tell by the can, this clear's been sitting here for about a year and a half. We're gonna go up to the number 2, where the 4 is. Go. All right, you guys can see that's at the number 2. All right, so we're in the 4 to 1 to 1 section here. We're at the number 2 for the clear. I'm gonna bring it up to the second 2 for the activator. There we go. Stir this up and I'll get it in the gun. Okay, let's spray.
Here we go. Okie dokie, that's coat 1. All right, that's coat 1. There's quite a bit of orange peel, but should flatten out a bit, just like the other one did. As you can see, it's starting to get a nice little shine. I know it's still wet and still has the peel, but that's just a quick comparison to this side.
All right, we're gonna let this flash off for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and hit it with a second coat. Second coat, as usual, is gonna be wetter than the first coat. I'm gonna try and get it as wet as I can without getting a run. So far, we've got no runs. Just getting used to the way this thing sprays. It's not bad.
Looking good. And here's the spray can side. Okay. All right, so I got most of the parts cleaned up and drying off over there. A quick wipe with acetone will get pretty much everything clean. The only thing I question is here, the trigger portion. It kind of has a plastic surround around the metal tip here. So you can only clean that so much. I'm not going to let it sit in acetone or anything like that because it's going to destroy the little seal and the plastic piece that moves in and out when you pull the trigger. I don't know if you guys can see that moving in and out in there. But I feel that this should definitely be able to get a few good sprays before cleaning it is what will actually kill this thing. But for 50 bucks, I mean, you could probably paint a few whole cars with this thing. I'm pretty impressed. I mean, 50 bucks is not a lot of money to be able to shoot paint and get a pretty finish like that. Alrighty guys, here's the final reveal. This is the Rustoleum Gloss 5-in-1 cans. It's looking good. And this is the HVLP sprayer. It's looking good too. Really not a bad product. Okay guys, so the plan is I'm going to be working on that wall over there, tearing it down, moving all the stuff that's against it to the other side so I can get 2 trucks in here at the same time. That way I can actually use 2 of the 3-car garage. Make sense? Yeah, because there's not a lot of space in here. But it's hot as hell, too hot to work in the driveway, and I'm going to get an AC in here. That way it's much more comfortable, because that's kind of important. And that's going to bring us to the end of another video. You guys know what to do. Like it if you like, don't if you don't, subscribe to keep up with my latest shenanigans, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.